Okay, good morning, friends. Um, I'm going to read Nick Cadell's uh, Community Dimension of Developed Relationships. We seek to structure our communities around the reality of our fundamental interdependence with all of creation and to revitalize, develop, and practice relational skills and systems of care and resiliency that support the flourishing of all life in a time of climate crisis. So I'm reflecting on the work we've been doing with Eloheh and some other things too that kind of are worldview pieces. But I woke up this morning early after not a very good night's sleep and kind of was tossing and turning in bed from 5:30 to about 7:30 when the cat came in and kind of contributed to my angst. And I think the reason for my unease this morning relates to that practice and how far from that practice um, I'm finding myself in my legal work these days. And I'm thinking about how Eloheh and Randy got sent down this path of agrotourism. And the more I've worked with them and the more I've talked to Randy and some other lawyers and other people about it, the crazier it seems. And the more it seems like, in essence, we have such colonized minds and such colonized legal systems that we don't really see other ways of being that are outside those frameworks. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I liken it to Columbus arriving in Hispaniola back in the day, and supposedly the indigenous people couldn't even see the ships because they didn't have any frame of reference for them. They made no sense. And so, in the context of Elohei's work, what I found myself doing yesterday was very colonized thinking. So one of the things that's kind of this technical legal issue is whether Elohei is technically, by the IRS reckoning of things, a church. And a church has a very specific kind of legal meaning. And there's 14 criteria that you can meet to be a church. And the thing that matters about being a church or being not a church is you get these different tax advantages if you're a church. And it's like, okay, does Elohe really need these tax advantages? Does it want to be a church? And if it is a church for IRS purposes, maybe it makes their land use application really simple because they're trying to be a church on this land. But do they have to be an IRS church to be a church for the purposes of this land? And so that's where my brain has been going over these last few days, trying to figure out how to do their land use application. And what I'm realizing is Randy and Edith and Elohe are just being. They're just existing in an interconnected, communal facing way that defies categorization. And we shouldn't be trying to force them into one of these boxes or the other. And yet that's what our legal system is making me do and is making me think about. And I'm finding that very frustrating because in a broad sense, we've been talking about this as an issue of religious freedom, and it is. And in that broad sense, why do we legally have to cram them into one box or the other? And why do we have to prove that they're in one box or the other? Why can't they just be? And I think that's, in my experience, an outcome of centuries of colonization and Western law that sees the world in a very disconnected and very isolating and very unhealthy way. It's not ecocentric, it's not relational, it's not interconnected, it's not recognizing the reality of our interdependence in any way, shape, or form. And so I'm lamenting that and trying to think about how to go through this in the reality of the situation, which is they do need to get their church status for the land, and they will get it, but it's just like it's frustrating. So I'm going to stop there and be frustrated.